This episode is produced by Pet Fox Studios. Pet Fox Studios is a recording studio in Morris, Minnesota. Visit petfoxstudios.com for more information. Welcome to the Roasted Christian Podcast. I'm Bobby.
I'm John. We like our ideas the way we like our coffee, which is roasted. We like to roast our coffee.
All right. It's time for the chit chat. Johnny, it is right before the July 4th weekend.
What's your point? I hate America. I don't like guns.
Should we talk about guns? Wow, that was the quickest.
I'm looking for a segue,
man.
I'm a rabid Greenpeace tree hugging fanatic.
Well, and I'm a metal piece. Give me my metal so I can shoot it, man.
I need my piece of metal.
Oh man.
Well, that's getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Chit chat. July 4th. You doing stuff?
A little bit. I am probably going to build a new wood cart for in my garage to hold miscellaneous wood items and 4x8 sheets of plywood.
Okay.
And that will allow my current wood rack that's on the wall to come down, and then I can put cabinets on that wall.
Ooh.
To allow for better storage solution.
So you're going to mount it on the wall, or are you going to have casters?
The
and you
rack
can
is
roll
going to
it?
be on casters and rollable.
Oh, man.
And so that way I can easily get the 4x8 sheets of plywood out from its current storage location, which is against a wall.
Hot diggity.
Yeah, so that'll be... I'm probably going to do that, and then we're going to have some fun, maybe at your place.
Maybe.
And after the July 4th parade. And let me think, what else? Yeah, I just got back from vacation up in Duluth, Minnesota.
Woohoo. Did you bring some coffee?
I did.
Yay.
So that's our coffee today. We have the Duluth Coffee Company coffee that I thought of you while we were out there.
That's not redundant.
Yeah, well, I thought of you when I was out there. John,
yeah.
when I saw this. And so I'm going to describe it here. It's a Sumatra Acheh, A-C-E-H. Aki?
A-C-E-H?
A-C-E-H. Kopi Wantina Co-op.
Ase?
Ase?
I don't know. Ase?
Yeah. So the description is female growers in the Zhanjiang Valley in the region of Aceh in northern Sumatra process this coffee in a wet hulled style known as Jiling Basha. This method of processing is unique to Sumatra because the coffee is sold wet. It takes on an earthy taste from the environment that is unique to Sumatra coffees. It is a dark roast. Taste and see.
I read
the coffee
that it is Vienna
good.
roast, which is pretty dang dark. But yeah, I have heard that about Sumatra, that they do all their coffees the same, and so they have like, according to the places that I've read, it's a love-hate thing.
Okay.
But I don't know. It tastes pretty good to me.
It tastes pretty good to me, I thought. So this was roasted in the beginning of the month, I think June 8th. The beans were roasted. And it is now July 1st. And in the cabinet that they've been in since we came back a couple weeks ago from Duluth, or last week, that cabinet smells fantastic.
I bet.
Had it in my bag on the way to get roasted or ground up at work. My bag smells fantastic. This is good coffee. Maybe I'm going to have to... And they were really cool dudes there, totally willing to tell me all about everything that they're doing. So we might have to go up there and hit them up for a bag or two sponsorship.
So I think it's only because I knew ahead of time that it's Sumatra, because I'm not the expert by any means. But I think it is fair to say that it is like a damp or like earthy, like dirt.
Mm-hmm. Got some cars driving by.
Squeaky brakes. There are other coffees that I've tried that have what has been described as a cleaner mouthfeel, and this is like fuzzy.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. The flavors are still good.
Mm-hmm. Do you think I made it weak?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe a little bit.
I judge when I'm pouring into the cup how light the coffee is.
Lighter,
it seems a little lighter, but it's tasty.
Tastes okay, yeah. Okay. Well, that was...
So I was listening to the radio.
Go.
Did you ever listen to Disturbed, Bob?
I didn't really.
Yeah, they're like
I'm corny.
supposed to be I don't know. Are they like actually Satan worshipping? Like, is that their whole deal, or they're just like heavy metal and not Christian?
Gabe. You can say stuff, and so we'll hear the faintness of
yeah.
Gabe
I was asking Gabe.
That's okay,
because Gabe is the master of all knowledge, especially music. Anyway, so I've only heard like a couple of their songs, and they're really heavy and kind of dark, and it's like, what? And then the other day on the radio, I heard a Disturbed song.
On the radio?
And I was like, wait, this is Disturbed? What?
What did they sing?
They sang the Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence.
Really?
They did a cover of it. And it is amazing.
Really?
So if you get a chance, you should check that out. Okay. I had shivers the whole time. Partly because I do like the original.
Oh, yeah.
And they made it awesome. There's like strings in the background, and he starts like really, really quiet and like singing, and then by the end he's screaming, and it's like super cool. Very minor.
Is he a screamo like at the end?
No.
Like that kind of stuff?
He's got kind of a I don't know what you want to call it, like electronic kind of.
Synthesized.
I don't know.
Screaming?
It's much more slick than like the modern heavy.
Okay.
I don't know. Go check it out though.
All right,
it's pretty awesome. It's starting to make the rounds, I think, like on social media and whatnot. Everybody's like, "Hey, check this song out." So you heard it here first at the Roasted Christian.
Yeah, boy.
About a Disturbed song. Yeah.
Oh man. So let me think. I don't think I got anything else that's chit chat worthy. My girls are driving me a little bit crazy, but past that,
yeah, that's
I don't
cool.
know what else is new. I've been tired. I'm gonna try new shaving methods.
Okay.
So you don't shave. I'm looking at you and I'm like, this boy does not shave ever.
Yeah, there is a slight appeal to the idea of like a correct shave or like an old school like straight razor kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna happen.
So I'm going safety razor.
Okay.
Because my neck gets very razor burnt and really irritated.
Sure.
And from what I've been researching and reading, doing the multi-blade, even great, and I'm currently using a great multi-blade. I've already immediately felt the difference between that and like the Mach 3. How much it pulls and all that kind of stuff.
This episode of The Roasted Christian is not brought to you by any shaving products.
Yet. But so I decided to go safety razor. So I did a little research, talked to our buddy Chris Hansen a little bit about it because he does it, and bought some products online. They're in the mail. And I actually talked the guy one of the owners of the company that I bought the stuff from. He emailed, "Hey, if you have any questions." So I emailed some questions. I'm like, "Hey, my neck gets crazy razor burnt. What can I do? What do you recommend?" He goes, "I highly recommend this soap and this brush." And he goes, "I had the exact same problem 8 years ago. As soon as I went to safety razor shaving, problems went away." I'm like, that's exactly what I want to hear. Now, granted, he's in the business of selling this stuff, but if he's right and my problems go away, I'm definitely going to be dropping this guy a line saying, "Hey, this is
We'd
awesome.
love to sponsor
I'd love
you.
to promote you because
we'd love for you to sponsor us."
Yeah,
I got that backwards.
Yep. But I'd love to promote him because it's just I'm looking forward to it. Plus, it seems like it's very much a hobby. And this is time for yourself, like to get ready and to just almost kind of pamper yourself a little bit in the shaving method.
Take a little man time.
A little man time. I've watched a lot of videos of how guys do it and stuff. I mean, it's like a 15-20 minute process every time you do it. I'm like, this kind of seems kind of neat. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So hopefully by next podcast.
So you're excited to take 15 to 20 minutes on your shave?
If it's a good shave.
Okay. Because for me, one of the reasons that I wanted to stop shaving was because of time. Like, I just don't want to do it every
but
day
what if
or
you
even every
enjoyed
other
it
day.
so much you would wake up 15 minutes early to really
I
enjoy
might
the shave?
reconsider.
Plus, then
know.
you have like cool little things in your bathroom that
cool
are
little
like,
things are the best.
right? And everybody's like, well, what is that? That looks like that's like a death machine. You're like, that's safety razor shaving, bro. Like, get up with this.
Hmm.
And you
I'm
have a
not
story. You have an
convinced,
instant story. I like having things that give me an instant story.
I have those in the form of typewriters and
your beard.
and
Your beard is a
humidors
story
and-
itself.
Yes. So tell me about your beard.
All right. Should we get into? We're gonna get into it. Okay. All right, John. We have guns on the topic for the fresh roast. So should we dive into it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's dive into the fresh roast. We're talking about guns.
Yep.
What? Okay. How do you want to go this? I'm going to. I know this. You're going to take one position. I'm going to take the other. Maybe we're going to leave it to the audience of who they think maybe believes in their actual position.
Yeah.
Because I think we're probably both actually close in what we believe about guns. If
Well,
I had to guess.
right. Okay. So I do want to start out with some caveats. The first one is that I'm not a gun person anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I've shot them and they're cool, but generally, like, I wouldn't spend money on them. Like,
Yeah.
so they're no hobby of mine. So the idea of introducing gun control in order to help, I don't know why this happens every time we start the fresh roast.
You coughing?
Yeah. The idea of introducing regulation is not painful to me.
Sure.
It doesn't negatively impact my life in any way. So I might have an easier time.
But the counter argument would be it's maybe indirectly negatively impacting your life because
but
other people.
I don't care about that.
But your safety from other people being able to also have the same rights who do enjoy it to be able to hopefully adequately defend you if something were to go down would negatively impact you. That would be the counter argument.
Yeah. I'm willing to put up with that, I guess. Yeah, where to start? Okay, so I guess I would start with the fact that mass shootings are a problem in the U.S. And I will grant that the definition is a little strange. Mass shootings are anything over 4 deaths by one shooter. But in that capacity, we have... let's see here.
Here, in my mind, a mass shooting is if I go into a public space with the intent of killing anybody, more than one person. If I am going into a public space with the intent of killing more than one person, that's probably a mass shooting.
Okay.
Now you can probably say, well, what if you're like knocking off a husband and a wife or something? Like that's your only intent. Okay, sure. Maybe you can change it to the intent is to kill random people. I'm going into a public place to kill random people or like even just some that I really want to, but if more come with me, that's awesome. That's a mass shooting. I mean, we all get what a mass shooting is, whether or not it hits the number 4.
Right, and there are various definitions. The FBI has a separate definition, and there was just a study released in June 21st, actually. So like 10 days ago, something like that. From 1966 to 2012, 31% of all mass shootings took place in the U.S. So we have 5% of the world's population, and we have 31% of mass shootings.
Sure.
The next highest country is the Philippines with 18. We've had 90. But when you change the definition to look at 4 or more people are wounded or killed, there's been 136 mass shootings in the first 164 days of this year. Which that to me says that, yes, we have a people problem, but the fact that these problematic people can get their hands on crazy amounts of guns in a really easy fashion is a problem.
Yeah. So if you're going to take the position as a more regulation, what is in your mind the way to appease the balance of safety and freedom? Because if let's say I'm pro-gun man, I don't want my freedoms taken away. Like I have every right especially explicitly listed in the Constitution, to have a gun and to have just about any kind of gun.
Yeah. So the Second Amendment says every person should have the right to bear arms. Is that I guess I haven't even looked. Does that specify guns?
It says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
I don't have a watertight argument here. I'm just kind of asking the question. Does that exclude AK-47s in its definition? Does that exclude grenades in its definition? Are those things considered arms? And if we're taking the literal verbatim Second Amendment, should we have to make those things legal?
Okay, so this is where personal Bob and faux Bob are kind of like blurring lines here.
I want to say one thing, and I want to say the opposite.
Yeah, I know. If you're taking the verbatim, literal interpretation of this, I think it's darn near impossible for you to limit anything.
Yeah.
Tanks, missiles. Like, why shouldn't you have a missile?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It verbatim.
I'm going with the definition that arms are armaments.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, we're not talking about literal bear arms.
No, that would be the greatest country in the world if all we had was just bear arms.
And I get the idea of a well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
As the saying goes. I mean, we don't want to be subjects to a despot in our government.
Yeah. Gabe's giving a face. What face is that, Gabe?
What face?
Tanks. Okay. So the other point is, okay, so one of the points of the government argument that
I'm giving you too many points. I need to be stronger. Tanks, man. What the heck? Get rid of the Second Amendment.
The weird thing about the government issue. So if you're taking a lot of pro gunners will take the position of one of the entire points is that we as a people need the rights to have access to the necessary equipment to overthrow the government in an absolute desperate need if we need to.
Yeah.
To overthrow our oppressors, right? Well, here's the thing. Over the last couple hundred years, we have delegated that right to the government itself. We have delegated the right of how to defend us to the government with our military. We have basically said, we're going to put the money and the people and the resources into building a defense, into building a military. That will defend us. So they have access to technology, weapons, and all the sorts of your armaments that the general population does not have access to. So if we're going to overthrow this massive government that we have put in place, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do an arms race against ourselves that we've put in place? It's not. I don't see any practical way. Now, if you say, but that's not the point, Bob. The point is you need to have the right to access it. Great. You can have access. But if you bring a knife to a gunfight, it doesn't matter, right? I'll give you access to all the knives you want. I have a gun.
Right. So basically what you're saying is we have this unhappy middle ground. We're not powerful enough to overthrow the government, which was the purpose of the Second Amendment.
Yep.
And so right now all the Second Amendment is doing is allowing people to have the capacity to shoot a bunch of other people. Yeah.
But I at the same time, so I actually went shooting with my father-in-law last weekend.
Okay.
It was a blast, literally. What do you want?
Is there more coffee?
Oh, yeah. There's more coffee. A little bit. Apparently.
Oh, yeah. There's a little bit.
So I went shooting this last weekend. It was a lot of fun. So we did trap, we did rifles. I shot an AR-15 for the first time. That was scary fun.
Yeah. Yep.
And we did handguns, 22s, 911s, 9mm. It was great. It was a lot. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
There's just something cool about it. It's fun. So I think there's a common sense middle ground to this, isn't there? Isn't there a common sense ability to say, yeah, we don't want to take away your fun.
Right.
Like, guns themselves, while they're a designed weapon to kill people, at the same time, we have found a way to use them as far as sport, competition, fun. Yes, we also have them for defense. And the argument is hard. You can obviously make the argument probably both ways about using them as defense and people abusing that. But in the end, they serve a purpose and a variety of purposes. And I don't want to either take that away either, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, and the defense would say, and I've heard Obama give speeches about this, and the problem is he either is lying or the Republicans believe that he's lying, and so nothing ever goes forward. But I mean, he has said pretty much explicitly the point is not to take away your guns.
Yeah.
And I guess whether what you think of what he says and what his policies are in regards to those kind of regulations, I don't know. I will say that there are gun regulations that nobody thinks twice about, because it's like, well, duh.
Yeah.
They banned the AK-47 in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody raises a stink about that.
Yeah.
Why not? It's your right to bear arms, but we just said you can't do it. Well, because it's an assault rifle. Like, you can kill a lot of people with one gun. Yeah. So, and
also at the time the Second Amendment was written, the gun was a single load musket gun.
Yeah.
Right?
You could bring a knife to a gunfight.
There is no vision at the time this amendment is written for the automatic rifle. There's no vision for that.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the founding fathers were also smart enough to know if I think what's the big cannon gun that you
crank?
Yeah,
Gatling gun.
The Gatling gun. If the Gatling gun was around then, and some people were bringing that sucker into public places and just mowing down people, I'm pretty sure the founding fathers would be like, yeah, general public, you can't have Gatling guns.
There'd be a law against that.
It just makes too much sense. So I also talked to an NRA member, or I didn't talk to an NRA. I heard of a discussion from an NRA member who said, why can't you have levels of essentially levels of gun categories where if you want X gun, if you want an AK-47, you have to pass all of these different requirements to get there. You have to pass different classes, certifications, trainings, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can go as far as you want to getting whatever gun you want. But it's also...
They're going to make the road difficult.
They'll either make the road difficult or make the road narrow for the people who really want it, right?
Yep.
You're going to have to pass 100 hours of shooting class to get your AK-47.
Yeah.
But guess what? Those people who really want it are probably using it for like a competition, for sport, for whatever. And they're going to be like, yeah, if you tell me I can do 100 hours and actually learn about the AK-47 the whole time in those 100 hours and shoot it a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Like, that also just seems like, boy, that sounds like that'd be a lot. I think it's a win-win having different, if you want a BB gun, your only requirement is you need to be 10 years old. Right. If you want a handgun, you got to take a class. If you want an AR-15, you got to take a different class. Maybe military style level of a class, because that's what the military uses. If you want a shotgun, different level of class. If you want a hunting license, a different level. It just seems to make sense that depending on what you want to do, like drive a car, you get a license.
Yep. And if you're going to drive a semi,
you
need a different kind of license.
You need a different kind of license because it's a bigger, more dangerous, if you don't know what you're doing, type level equipment.
Hey, man, I am glad you're on my side.
God, I was going to take the stupid pro-gun side. Like, how can I argue this? I just can't, because the other aspect of this is gunners will use an argument often of that there are so many other things that kill more people in America every year. Heart disease, pneumonia, the flu, Alzheimer's, chronic lower respiratory disease, stroke. So many different things that kill way more people than guns a year. Okay, the facts don't lie. But here's the problem. Those things, whether or not they happen to you because of hereditary or because of your own personal choices, are not freedoms that are taken away from you inherently. So here's my example. I can't walk into a mall and start blasting people with heart disease. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't walk into a public setting and just start throwing cancer at people.
Right.
But I can walk into a public setting with a big gun and start shooting away people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and I think we would both agree that
if you can't yell fire in a public place,
right,
that's an infringement of your rights. Like, how can you actually fire in a public place?
Can we please infringe some more rights regarding like crazy weapons? Yeah, I get the idea that, I mean, maybe this is a generalization, but you had your anecdote about shooting guns this last weekend. I mean, I would say that America in general has a love affair with guns. And I think they're probably more than any other country.
Probably.
Developed country.
But there's also a lot of smart people with guns.
Yeah.
And,
no question.
You know what I mean? The vast majority of people who really like guns aren't going around shooting people.
Yeah, no, I don't want to paint that picture at all.
Yeah.
My point is that our relationship with guns and kind of the Wild West style is part of our culture.
Yeah.
And it's I think people really react strongly when you suggest just excising that part of our nature, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something to
one of the hard, so maybe other people will make different decisions or have different value systems. But to me, when I think about safety versus freedom, I generally will remove more freedoms to get more safety. If you told me on the spectrum, because in a lot of ways, extreme freedom and extreme safety, that's the tension, right? Hey, yeah. I don't want you monitoring any of my phone calls, but I also want you to be able to let me know when terrorist activity is starting to go down in my country.
Yep.
Well, crap. There's a balance. I have to monitor somebody's phone calls, or
gotta pick
whatever.
one.
We got to pick them. So I will generally say, because I'm an outstanding citizen.
Yes, you are.
I'm just a model citizen. That I will limit some freedoms to gain more safety. Now, here's the other pro-gun argument to this. Once you start the regulation, when does it stop? How far-reaching? It's almost like a trust thing. It's like you have to trust people are going to elect to do the right thing.
Yep.
But there's also the possibility they won't.
Yeah. So the corollary, which maybe somebody who disagrees would also disagree with the corollary. This was actually Obama's argument. Cars.
Okay.
So nobody has a problem with regulating cars. Cars were dangerous. Nobody's wearing seatbelts. The fatality rate was astronomical. Like everybody was just driving however they saw fit,
Kids
as fast as they wanted.
Yeah.
It was
Back in
insane.
Front seat. Yeah.
So the government stepped in and said, "Hey, you've got to wear your seatbelt. We've got to build these roads better. We've got to regulate speed." And granted, as with the idea of gun control, you're taking the guns away from the good people and just letting the bad people get them. It's still a choice that you have to break the law with your car.
Yeah.
But it's undeniable that accidents and car-related injuries and all that kind of stuff have gone down as a result of regulation.
Yep.
So to my mind, this could be an oversimplification, but more guns equals more violence.
Yep.
So if you restrict some of the more powerful, more dangerous, more lethal weaponry, you restrict the ability to mow down 50 people in a night.
Yeah. I definitely see the point of the good. I see the argument of the good people with guns are going to help against bad people with guns. There was apparently just a shooting in, what state was it in, Gabe? Was it North Carolina or Georgia or South Carolina or something like that? There was a club or a shooting just recently in the news. 3 people were shot. Did they die? I think they were just shot.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. A gunman goes into South Carolina, starts shooting at a club, and a gentleman with a concealing carry shot the person coming in, and that stopped the shooting.
He's got a concealed carry permit. He went through all of the hours. He knows what he's doing. It's a handgun. Yeah. Okay. No problems.
No problems.
This is absolutely exactly what we want to have happen.
I think so. I honestly don't want to see that kind of go away.
Right.
I want to see how people can get access to guns so easily.
Right.
Going away.
So there was a bill
but here's the thing, and I know this argument is there. It's going to develop the argument for the self-manufacturing of weapons in America, which we already kind of have with 3D printing. You can self-manufacture stuff like that, right? And it's going to develop a whole other market. But it doesn't mean you just don't do what you can.
Yeah.
We can regulate these things that are being purchased and developed in America and sold, right? We can do that. You just have to take whatever steps you can. If you don't do anything, you're not making any progress, right? Something needs to change.
Yep.
Something just needs to change. I honestly am afraid of going into the Mall of America because in my mind, it's only a matter of a time before that place gets hit.
Yeah. I could see it happening.
There's no. So back to your car argument.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm in favor of putting blow and goes in every single vehicle.
I don't know what that is.
So when you get a DW, you get a certain DWI or whatever, you got to blow in the thing to check your BAC before you can drive.
Yeah, why not?
But
Bobby, it's control.
You're darn right it's control. I want to have a little bit more control of the safety that my wife and kids, when they're driving down the road, are not going to be hit in a head-on collision by a guy, a young kid, a young man or young woman, or old man or old woman decides I'm going to drink 13 beers and then drive home.
Yep. And it might still happen. They might
is DWI punishment not? Maybe we're getting in another subject, but how is it
Can
not?
Of worms.
How is that not hey, if you're caught with a DWI with a BAC over a certain level, your car and your license is removed for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't know. I mean, laws are a weird thing to me. On the one hand, you have some really weird regulations coming out. On the other hand, there's been things that should be happening that haven't.
One of the things they harp on in driver's training, at least they did, decades ago when I started, was driving is a responsibility, not a right.
Yeah.
If it is not a right, then why aren't the punishments of blowing that responsibility not so much stricter that it deters people from challenging it?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like baseball and steroids. Some people make the argument of if you're caught using steroids, then you should be banned from the game from life. That would deter the casual users and a lot of idiots too from even trying it. Now, granted, testing is a whole nother ballgame because, no pun intended, that do the tests get everything? Are they completely accurate or whatever? But if you DWI, that's pretty darn accurate. We've gotten that. There hasn't been too many.
There's not much gray area.
Yeah, the blow and go thing, the breathalyzer. Man, I'm challenging that. I don't think it caught the alcohol type that my BAC is actually at a level that's different because of different reason. It wasn't because of alcohol. It doesn't matter if it was because of alcohol or not, even though it was. You're impaired.
Yep.
Weed driving goes up in Colorado now because of the laws of high driving.
Yeah.
That's gone up. Accidents have gone up with more high drivers. Government regulation. Did this just turn into a regulation topic?
Maybe. I will say this: I just heard of a bill that they tried to pass in the House. Maybe I don't even think it got to the Senate. But the idea was to pass some regulation to prevent people who are on
the no-fly list,
the terrorist list, like suspected terrorist list, from buying guns.
Yeah.
Because right now you can go to Walmart and buy one.
Yep.
And
if you're on the no-fly list because of suspected terrorist activity,
like,
how can you buy a gun in America?
Pretty easy. Put it in the same shopping cart as like your Dora Explorer junk.
Oh my gosh.
So, and they voted it down. And
I can't believe that.
I don't know all the ins and outs of the bill. You know, maybe there were some
there's probably a thousand things attached to it.
Riders.
Yeah, there's probably 1,000 things attached to it.
But let's be real. How can we not?
How
is this not a law already?
Because it's a systemic problem of how our government works, where there's never been a case and people have been harping, just pass the thing that makes sense. Pass the one thing. Don't attach anything to it. They can't help themselves.
Yeah.
They just can't. Our politicians are broken. And if we just so by lovingly chance get a politician listening to this podcast, tell me why you don't think the system's broken. Please contact us. But everything I've seen, you can't pass the one thing that needs to be passed. When it came down to Obamacare, one of the things was, why can't we just pass historic conditions? What was that thing?
What now?
Your pre-existing conditions can't be disqualified in your insurance. Like, everybody was kind of like, that makes kind of sense. Just pass this, not this 8,000-page whatever. Like, start with that and keep moving. Pass the little things as you need to that everybody can kind of agree on. They can't do it.
Yeah.
Because they got too much agendas. I think they all just need to go. And you need to have term limits on these senators and congressmen. That's my thing. But
yeah, and like you said, I think the argument has been made that it's not a gun problem; it's a people problem.
Yeah,
but
which is true.
As you have suggested, with heart disease, like, yeah, that's a diet problem, and it kills a lot of people. So we're going to work on that, but we're also going to work on the things that we can prevent.
Yeah,
like in as much as we can.
Yep.
If guns are killing people, if the certain types of gun are killing more people, how can
if we have a people problem, how are we not then the smart people doing something about making it harder for the people with the problem to do the wrong thing? Because all this is not about people, like, it's not really infringing the right of like someone who's just like maybe they're a vulnerable adult or something like that, right? And they're like, well, it's not in that category of it's a person whose mind is messed up. If you have the desire to shoot a lot of people in a public place, you have a problem with your mind.
Yep,
you are messed up.
Well, and even beyond the law level, if it's just you and me, and you're hoping for a grenade launcher. And I've known you for several years, and you just have some odd tendencies, and you talk about, maybe knocking a block in Morris down.
It's going down, baby.
And then the next week you ask for a grenade launcher. I'm like, no, because I know who you are.
Yeah.
Like, I've checked into it. Like, I know your behavior patterns. I just don't think you're qualified. Can we not make that a law instead of just, I don't know. It just seems way too unregulated.
I don't think there's anything on the pro-gun side that can argue against smart restrictions. And by restrictions, I mean just methods of getting the things you want.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah.
We make it hard for people to get a lot of stuff in America.
Yeah, we do. I know the complaint is they're going to, it's give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You take away the AK-47, you take away the AR-15. Pretty soon we don't have handguns, and then the government can be.
But we have to trust that we're going to be voting in the right people to make the right decisions. And that's the beauty of our government, is that we can vote in the right people.
Yep. There was a second one. I can't remember.
All right. I think we call it.
Yeah.
All right. We have
Guns have been roasted.
We have just solved the gun problem. You've been officially roasted.
You're welcome.
All right. So our segment today doesn't really have a name yet. Maybe we'll give it one, but probably something along the lines of, at least you don't live in Florida.
Yep.
Okay. I used to live in Florida, just for the record. I am so glad my parents got us escaping from that state.
They got you escaping.
They got me. Oh, jeez. Me no good with the English of communication.
You can take Bobby
'Cause
out
of
of Florida,
Florida,
but you can't take Florida out of Bobby.
Man, Florida. I am so waiting for the day there is a earthquake that just chips you off of the United States and you just float away. Hashtag elder. Okay, so Crestview, Florida. A Florida man is facing charges after police said he stole a van earlier this month so he could drive it to a Waffle House. Marcus Johnson, 28, was followed by police using the van's GPS system after it was stolen on June 7th. Oh, my gosh. You guys are just such idiots. Officers said the GPS tracking also showed Johnson taking the van to a truck stop. Oh, my gosh. What an idiot. Florida man.
Jason Bourne, he ain't.
No. Florida man arrested for punching swan. Oh, my gosh. Jeez.
Well, in keeping with our topic and Florida men and women, I've got an obscure word of the week for you.
Okay, go.
Nescience.
Okay, so
which really just looks like NE science.
Okay,
kind of weird.
So I have to give a fake definition.
Sure.
Nescience. Is that how it's said? Nescience?
Yep.
Nescience. The state of being where you neither have to poop or you both feel that you have to poop and not have to poop at the same time. Nescience.
Huh. I'd almost like your definition better. The actual definition is lack of knowledge or awareness. So synonym is ignorance. So if we don't want to call people ignorant slobs, we can call them nescient slobs.
But that almost sounds like they're like, yeah, if you put slobs at the end of it, it's okay. But if I call someone, man, you are very nescient, I can say that in a way that really sounds like edifying. But
you're totally camouflaging.
Ooh, it's almost like I'm a nescient being. This is that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
So keep that one in your back pocket when you want to insult someone without actually rubbing them wrong.
Okay. This has been the Roasted Christian. I'm Bobby.
I'm John.
Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.